Hey, welcome everyone to the May 2024 edition of the New York Space Business Roundtable. AI, is it the end of the space and satellite industry? Or at least as we know it? We're going to find out today. But before we do that, we're going to do our little warm-up as we always do. I'm happy to present.
In the Empire State where we hustle and we grind, New York City, Albany, Rochester, Buffalo, you'll find a fusion of jazz and hip-hop. The rhythms in from the bright lights of NYC to the falls of Niagara. Every corner, every town, we're all connected, brother.
Speaking of AI,
love that.
That is an AI. Well, the music is an AI creation. The video is the hard work of our staff. So thank you, Ari, for doing it. Hey, everybody, you are on mute. I want you to be aware that you are on mute, but that the chats are open. If you have questions for our esteemed panelists today, please make use of the chats. We welcome your questions. I will give you a heads up. We typically run till about 1:15, which is when we usually leave space for audience questions. We're going to try to get to audience questions before that because we're going to end at 1 o'clock. Lou's going to tell you a little bit more about why we're doing that this day. But with that, I'm going to put the spotlight on Mr. Lou. Oh, that's hilarious. Lou, I just called you Mr. Lou. That's a throwback to when my child was 6.
Yeah, I was going to say, I just heard Eitan's voice there. Mr. Lou.
Mr. Lou.
Thanks, Tamara. I love that button. It's unbelievable. So cool. I feel so proud of New York when I see that. Yeah. And I'm really proud of who we've got today as guests on this show. And this is AI Day in the space industry, thanks to SSPI and our partners. I wanted to introduce myself as Ray Kurzweil, but I couldn't get away with it. But I am modestly self-aware device, and I'm going to take you through the conversation today along with my colleague Joe Fargnoli, who does the New York Minute. Joe is out in Las Vegas today at a conference, so he'll be on for his reaction later. And we are going to cut it a little bit shorter today so that we can get to some of the other events that we've got lined up for you from our partners and friends. But first of all, I got to thank the people who brought us here. Luxembourg Trade and Investment Office here in New York. Congratulations to them, and to Paul Steinmetz. I have to shout him out. He's leaving his post as the counsel here after his term expires in June, and we really appreciate all that he's done for us. So Paul, I know you're in the audience along with Kivansh. Congratulations. Satshore, one of our sponsors from India, Satshore Analytics. We were going to have their co-founder with us today, Rashmeet Sukhmani, but unfortunately he came down with a sore throat and laryngitis, so he can't join us, but he is going to join us on a future panel. And Dhruva Space is our sponsor as well, and also a company that has been a longtime supporter of the Roundtable. So, if you can do business with them, check them out, and we'd appreciate that because we appreciate them. We've also got our supporting organizations, and you can see who they are. We, again, appreciate everything that they do for us. And we wanted to just let you know that in September, on September 18th or 19th, Tamara? 19th. 18th. Third Wednesday in September, we'll actually be at Cornell University for a live edition of the Roundtable, thanks to the consortium, one of our supporting organizations. So if you're going to be in New York State in September, we really invite you up there. It's the Finger Lakes part of our state, and it's absolutely beautiful. And we'll be talking about industry issues, doing business with the Defense Department, and a lot of other things. So thanks again to our supporting organizations. Usually in this slot, we have Debra Werner or Jason Rainbow, reporters for SpaceNews magazine, and we have them live. But Debra is actually getting ready for a webinar that comes at the top of the hour at 1 o'clock on an article that she wrote on AI called Does AI Love Space? Very provocative article, actually. And so what we did was I sat down with her a couple of nights ago and we recorded her segment of Significant Digits. So we're going to go to that recording now. And so it's time for our Significant Digits report, as I said, and we were very fortunate to be able to get Debra on tape this time because she's got a very special announcement actually regarding AI. But Debra, welcome.
Thank you so much, Lou. Nice to see you.
Good to see you as well. The topic is AI. It's like everybody's conversation these days, but you wrote an article in last month's Space News that space loves AI, but AI maybe not so much. Why don't we talk about that a little bit?
Sure, I'd be happy to. This came from a conference I was at in Mountain View where people were talking about the challenges of onboard AI. There's been a lot of machine learning and AI algorithms running on the ground, and that's accelerating. But moving that to space is a little bit tricky. Yeah. We've got thermal extremes that people don't generally deal with on the ground, radiation, much higher levels of radiation that some of these commercial AI engines are not designed to withstand, and power. If you are running some of these algorithms, you need a lot of power. So there's no question that this is coming and people are addressing these challenges. Nevertheless, it's different to run AI on a satellite than it is to run it on the ground.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you also mentioned in there, chips are really not built to go into orbit, right? Software, in addition, I mean, those are two significant items. I mean, you can certainly elaborate on that, Debra, but is anyone working on that as a specialty for our industry?
Absolutely. As soon as that article came out, I started hearing about companies all over the country and all over the world addressing these issues. Some of them through shielding the commercial components, but they still have to develop software specifically designed for space, and hardware that is specifically designed for space. So there are people everywhere working on this and getting funding for it too.
Yeah. Are they mostly North American companies, or are you seeing global activity?
I've seen global activity. So far, I've been speaking with people in Asia, Europe, and North America.
Any names we should know? Are there any names you're reporting on that we'll hear about?
There will be a bunch of names coming up. I've talked to companies called Zephyr and Avalanche. People have probably heard of Mercury Systems and Zero Error Solutions. There really are too many to name. And right now I'm just trying to get my arms around this ecosystem so that I can make sense of it and report on it.
Yeah. I did a podcast this morning, which will drop on the 20th on Monday. And I spoke with Redwire.
Yes.
Redwire Corporation and Jonathan Bailiff. They are a pure play infrastructure company, and they are really moving quickly. But how difficult or how important will it be for them to struggle with AI the way, if AI doesn't love them, can that set back things like space debris, infrastructure builds, and like that in space?
Well, so I spoke to Al Tedros at Redwire, and they see this as an engineering challenge, which they are absolutely addressing. and they say they are confident they can address it. And they're working closely with this new Stanford center called Caesar, which is going to be unveiled in about 10 days. That's going to also focus on this. People are coming together to address this. I didn't mean to imply that it wouldn't happen in my Space Loves AI article, but it's tricky, it's challenging.
Yeah.
I talked to an engineer preparing a payload for the moon that has to go from 50 degrees Celsius to negative 50 degrees Celsius. And that's just not his common, this was from Hewlett Packard. They don't usually have to deal with those extremes.
Right, right. Is it your sense from your reporting, Deborah, that this was factored in, or has AI sort of come on so fast that, you know, it needs to be sort of quickly accommodated now?
That's an excellent question. I'd love to figure that out. I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, because think how long we've been talking about machine learning and algorithms and neural networks. So people were looking to this, but I think the speed with which it's coming on is making people adjust.
Yeah, that sounds about right. How about on the investment side? I mean, investment, I think we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. Investment has slowed down the last 3 years or so. Although again, you know, I'm told that, you know, different types of companies that really do function in microgravity, pharma and like that, are getting their money. There was one that just got 90 million, which was reported on, Varda, I think it was. Is the investment community looking at this and saying, oh, this is inevitable, so therefore it could be a good place for microcap companies or for startups to get their money? It's certainly not a science project anymore.
You're right, and I am hearing about people getting money for it, but it might take a little time to see to what level. I don't know that we're going to go back to 2021, but who knows? Yeah.
Well, you'll be the first to know because you're reporting on it. Well, listen, I'm going to let you go. But you have something going on with us now. We're kind of like, it's kind of like the Daily Show now. We've got another show after us. You've got something going on right after we get done here at 1 o'clock called Space Loves AI. What's that all about?
That's true. There was so much interest in this article that I wrote, and I've gotten so much feedback that we've planned a webinar to dig a little deeper into the opportunities and challenges related to AI. And people will be joining us from Redwire, from Caesar, which is this new Stanford Aerospace Autonomy Center, and from the Aerospace Corporation, and from a Canadian startup called MagnaStar.
What does MagnaStar do?
MagnaStar looks at, they do space traffic management from the angle of the signals traffic management.
Okay. Interesting.
And they rely heavily on AI for that.
Well, we're going to look forward to seeing you again at 1 o'clock, and people can get there by going to spacenews.com, right?
Yes, there should be a link on our homepage, and we'll also record it and put it up on the homepage.
Oh, so good.
People who are not able to get to it right away will be able to see it.
Okay, great.
Feel free to join us and post questions.
I will. I'll become a journalist like you someday and do that. Hey, listen, I really appreciate you showing up because I know you got a lot going on right now and doing this for us.
Thank you, Lou. I'm happy to do it.
Okay, and good luck at 1 o'clock.
Thank you.
Take care, Debra.
You too. Okay, bye.
Well, Tamara, it's painful to watch yourself have an interview. Well, we thank Debra, and again, you can find her at spacenews.com /webinar at 1 o'clock. So she gave you a little setup there as well. I also want to welcome the guests for the overview roundtable, Frank White and his group. I'm someone who's invited to that, so he's pushed that back for us today, and he'll be on at 1:15 as well. So there's a lot going on today. But what's really going on today are our guests. And they've been waiting patiently from different corners of the earth. And I just wanted to welcome them here and to start our conversation off. First up is Matteo Cuccorese. Matteo is in Berlin today. He's an aerospace engineer from the University of Naples, Federico II, who holds a master's degree in artificial intelligence from Imperial College London, specializing in reinforcement learning. He won national awards in several editions of the Mathematics Olympiad and international competitions, including NASA's Space App Challenge a couple of years ago. He's worked at Thales Alenia Space, Telespazio, collaborating with deep tech startups, which prepared him to become a leader in this very young field. At 22, before he could even be a member of Congress here in the United States, and of course, Congress is loaded with children, so he's an adult, he founded SPAICE, S-P-A-I-C-E, a company whose mission is to design a full suite of native AI-powered solutions to enable autonomous space logistics at scale, unlocking the full potential and accessibility of space exploration. SPAICE aims to launch the first AI-powered robotic kit into orbit by, I believe, Q4 2027. Matteo, welcome.
Hi, hello everyone. And Lou, thank you for inviting me here.
Good to see you. Sapna is with Matteo today. She's the senior systems engineer at Lockheed Martin. She is also proudly for us a member of our 20 under 35 cohort. She was named in 2023 as one of the 20 most promising people in the entire industry. Like Matteo, she has a background in aerospace engineering, in her case from Virginia Tech here in the US. She's been instrumental in significant programs like Artemis 1 and 2, the Human Landing System, and the Cryogenic Demonstration Mission. Currently, she leads the Lunar Mobile Vehicle Project and Project Agni, a machine learning tool for wildfire detection. She was the chief engineer for Lockheed Martin's new ventures from March 2022 until January, where she facilitated partnerships with external companies in the space industry. She's received prestigious awards from Lockheed and is actively involved in the Women's Impact Network, SEDS, Students for the Exploration and Development of Space, and the Space Generation Advisory Council. Sapna, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Excited to talk with the rest of the panelists on AI.
Where are you today? I forgot.
I am in Denver, Colorado.
Denver, Colorado.
But I look like I'm in space, but I wish I was in space. I'm in
yeah,
Denver.
well, spiritually and emotionally you are. We're all there with you. And finally, Hanna Steplewska is the president and chief operating officer with Cognitive Space. Cognitive is a leader in intelligent space automation, leveraging artificial intelligence, cloud computing, and deep operational experience. It provides automated satellite operations to enable satellite constellations to scale while growing, evolving, and addressing stringent market needs, which we're increasingly seeing. She is Earth observation scientist with 2 decades of experience and also in the aerospace sector, and works to unlock new opportunities in the space economy, working with neuroscience teams. She's a Polish native whose family lived in the UAE, was educated in the UK, and now resides here in the USA. So perfect for the space community. She truly represents the global diversity of this industry, its reliance on human connections and networks, and its understanding that we really are here to make the world a better place. So Hanna, welcome.
Thanks, Lou, for having me. Thrilled to be here.
And you're out in Seattle today.
That's right.
Yes. And did I get your last name right?
Almost. Steplewska.
Steplewska. Thank you. Okay. Listen, let's start off. Matteo, I'll start with you. Of what are considered, I guess, the 10 various stages of AI, from rules-based, thermostats, software, to self-aware AI, where AI kind of models human consciousness and beyond. Where's the space industry today on that scale of 1 to 10? And where should we be, in your view?
I mean, I guess that sometimes like let's start by definition of AI. Like sometimes it's a bit misleading, and for me, AI is like everything that involves a process that is not like programming a machine to perform and execute a task, but it involves like some teaching, I would say. That means like how to perform new tasks under like different conditions, and this is like very important in space because you got like lots of unpredictability, and so new scenario, new like conditions, new stuff that change over time. And this is also because like space, it's quite in space, it's quite hard to build AI stuff. You used to train AI on huge data sets, and actually for many applications, especially like space to space, there's not a lot of data sets available, and so you should like look at other ways of implementing algorithms. You were mentioning like different kind of AI. We are actually implementing a lot of deep learning and reinforcement learning, like using feedback loops to being able to learn how to perform new actions by actually having committing mistakes. It's kind of like trial and error process. So I guess we're still very behind. Just to answer your question, in space, most of the applications which I see are like today everything is like AI, but like what I see is mostly automating processes of like, for instance, how to downlink data. Just selecting them and doing this kind of processing directly on board. What we are trying to do is a bit different. We are trying to basically understand and learn in situ how like an object is made up, that will facilitate in orbit scale, like in orbit servicing at scale.
Right. Very good. Hanna, do you want to pick up on that and talk about cognitive space's role on that scale of 1 to 10 AI? Because obviously the notion of helping satellite operations, become much more efficient, given the complexities out there, is something that gets everybody's attention in the industry. But why don't you tell us a little bit about how cognitive space is approaching and using AI?
Sure, absolutely. And I actually want to sort of pick up on a couple of points that Matteo made.
Please.
So I very much agree that a lot of what we see masquerading as AI is really just automation. And it's not really until you have a system that is using something like deep reinforcement learning, where the criteria that it has to choose against and the scenarios that it's presented with are new and different and dynamic and changing, and it's able to make decisions and learn from those changing conditions to make new decisions. And that's something that the AI solution that Cognitive Space has developed specifically for orchestration of tasking across multiple satellite constellations, as well as the fleet operations of a single constellation. If you think about that as, if we compare it to a chessboard or a game board, there's a certain set of rules, the rules of physics and the rules of orbits and spacecraft components and health and status that we can't break. But the things that are constantly changing and dynamic are customer requirements, the weather, and a host of other things like spacecraft health and status may change, power levels may change, a node in the network may go down. And so any AI solution that we're working with has to be able to take all of those changes into account and dynamically adapt. And I think that's where Matteo was heading, is you have to have that ability to dynamically adapt to your environment, your circumstances, to be successful in a space application.
Yeah. So would that be considered reasoning AI, sort of like number 4 or 5 on the scale, where you can draw logical conclusions and maybe
So being careful not to anthropomorphize,
Right.
right, which is
Why would we do
a
that? Yeah.
pitfall of the pitfall of AI in general. I would say that that's more or less where in that range. Although Matteo can probably uh, score things better than I can, so maybe I need to get Matteo to take a look at what we're doing, and he can give us a formal score.
Well, we would love that. Yeah, I'm picking all this up because I've just absorbed with YouTube videos, getting ready for you guys. So, that my staging may be wrong. But by the way, congratulations, Hanna, on the NOAA deal. Yeah,
Thank you.
that's recent, right? That was last month.
Yeah, it was just last month. We're very proud of that one. It's we're already working with the Space Force, the Air Force, DARPA, Space Development Agency. Those are existing customers for us, and so to be able to add NOAA to the mix as a federal civilian agency has been great. And that allowed, we're working with NOAA they're looking at the next generation ground architecture for all of their systems.
Right.
And obviously we're talking to them about how they can apply AI to that future ground architecture.
Yeah, and that's a hugely important issue, especially when it comes to interoperability and standards and like that. So again, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Sapna, over to you. I wanted to just get your sort of snapshot on where we are, on the scale of AI and its implementation in the space industry, and where you see it maybe fitting over the next, let's talk 24 months.
Yeah, I feel like I agree with
Sapna, I'm sorry.
Sapna, yeah. I agree with what Matteo and Hanna were saying, where it is more than just automation, and what drives that learning is access to good quality data that's labeled. And I'm sure everyone agrees data quality is such a big issue, especially with space-based data. And I've applied AI and machine learning in two different flavors, I'd say, for space. One is pretty common. It's Earth observation. That's what Project Agni did, was use weather data to try to anticipate, higher probability wildfire locations to, tell first responders to go fight those fires. And also on the Ryan program, we were looking at using our thermal vacuum test data that we have a ton of from previous missions, and try to make like a smart AI based diagnosis tool to tell us where problem areas could be on the vehicle when anomalies come up. So there's a lot of different areas. There's some where you have an AI tool that's, the application is to come up with an answer. And the other is where you are using AI as, a helper for engineers to save a lot of time and reduce cost, and help more with development and test. And I feel like that development and test piece is applicable to a lot of different companies who are building hardware and test. So I do feel like in the next year or so, a lot of companies are going to keep looking into that. It's really going to help drive down cost. The amount of hours, like our high level SMEs at Lockheed spend trying to diagnose an error, being like, oh, our pressure sensors are showing this, but our thermal sensors are showing this, and we all know PV equals nRT, that equation. But there's so much more to anomalies than just the physics, and there's so many other things happening with power. And as Hanna was saying, it's like a whole story in a spacecraft, and AI can really help put that together. And I'm really excited to see that happen. And also in the chat, we got a really great question about human machine interaction, kind of human AI interaction.
Yeah.
And I do see that also starting, maybe not being fully implemented, because it's whenever you have human machine interaction with astronauts, Artemis 2, Artemis 3, 4 going to the moon, also like on the space station and all the commercial space stations that are coming out now. I do think AI can greatly help, but there is that trust that has to be built with the astronauts. And the astronaut corps has been doing things a certain way for so long, and I think building that trust with the newer class of astronauts, that AI can help them, but they still have control over it. I think that balance will have to be had. And maybe in the future, we'll have something that's more sci fi that we see in all our movies of AI basically flying everything. But I don't really see that as the immediate future. Like we need to build that trust and kind of gradually go to that area. But I'm excited to see what that's going to look like too.
Yeah. Autonomous vehicles will certainly be an area here in the municipal space, right? In the civic space where we'll see AI. I mean, it's inevitable, isn't it?
Yeah, and also taking that back to space, NASA's lunar terrain vehicle, their newest space rover that they're putting the proposal out for and working through that, it's going to have an autonomous capability and also a manual capability, so astronauts will be able to drive it, but it will have to have autonomy. So it'll be interesting to see if there is some autonomous activity that happens with the crew on board. That would be really crazy to see, but that is really pulling from the autonomous vehicle industry we see on Earth. But again, as Matteo and Hanna are saying, you have temperature issues and a lot of other lunar survive the night also is really difficult, trying to work through all of those pieces as well.
Yeah. And of course, Debra was reporting on that as well. It's one of the challenges, but she said, it's an engineering challenge, and our industry will certainly
do it.
Yeah, of course. This is like, this is like ice cream, right, Sapna? It's like,
exactly.
Put in your bowl and ate it. We'll do it. Matteo, I'm intrigued by two things that I've heard from your colleagues. The first one, the story in the spacecraft. I mean, there is a narrative, there is a sequence, there is an experience that has to take place in order for the mission to be accomplished. And also this notion of the relationship between us and the artificial intelligence. Pick up on that first one for me, if you wouldn't mind. What will be transformational in your view with regard to the spacecraft and the entire mission as we get out there?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I would like to answer telling a bit like from our angle what we are building. And I guess that in orbit servicing, debris removal and logistics in space basically has not happened right now because the problem is technologically very hard. And on the other hand, economics doesn't work. And basically, what we are trying to do is to empower satellites to be fully autonomous from detection of object in proximity to navigation, optimizing trajectories and fuel consumption to like rendezvous and docking with objects. And like especially in the last part of the mission, that's the critical one. It's where we are acting with a learning approach, like understanding how the object looks like and what's the best strategy to grasp it, even if it's like a satellite which is prepared for docking or whatever object, including debris which are tumbling quite fast. So for me, it's like this level of automation of like empowering spacecrafts to drive decisions by their own, which is like the ultimate goal of what we're trying to do.
Before I jump to Hanna, there's a question in chats for you, Matteo, from Hussein Bukhari. He said, "I'm curious." Well, you can read it, but he said, "I'm curious whether there's enough data for the space logistics element, since the market hasn't even launched a number of missions. Is your intention to get data for this application by launching your own mission?" I think we heard the answer, but do you want to elaborate? Yeah.
So thank you for the question. I mean, the easy answer is let's start doing missions just for data acquisition. But I guess that this is not the most beneficial way of doing stuff from an economical perspective. And so this is like a very IP question. So, I mean, I will answer that the data sets available today are not enough for sure to train models. We are developing proprietary data sets in-house. And of course, like the biggest challenge is when you want to bridge the gap from simulation to real world, like testing in real world after having trained your algorithms on like synthetic data sets. And so that's where, like, I guess part of the most interesting, like the most interesting part of our solutions lie.
Very good. Hanna, the other part of that question was, again, the relationship that we're going to have with AI as it becomes a peer in many ways, as well as a tool. How are you envisioning that? Because there's obviously, the 800-pound gorilla in the room is, everybody outside our industry, and it's people inside our industry, I guess, as well, are kind of concerned that, we're going to see some sort of takeover, right? What they really mean is there's change, and everybody's terrified of change, right? It's a form of suffering. But how do you look at that as you do your work? How do you look at that relationship with AI?
Sure, absolutely. So, we've seen already certainly in the Earth observation sector of our industry, we've already seen significant advances in sort of, I would call, lights out operation, where AI is actually driving the decision making for whole fleets of satellites. What we've seen in those situations is the human beings are still involved, but they are, rather than being in the loop and making decisions in that workflow, they are now in an oversight capacity where they are keeping an eye on various metrics and making sure that the systems are behaving the way that they should be. And so we're already seeing that change in role from human in the loop to human on the loop. I think we'll see more of that. I think there has been, quite rightly, we've seen a strong push, particularly from DoD and IC customers, about the explainability of our AI solution. Mm-hmm. Do we understand what it's doing and why it's making the decisions that it's making? Can we tune those decisions? And I think as we expand, the sphere of how much of the space industry is using AI for decision making, that explainability will become more and more important for us. There was a really good point made here in the chat that SpaceX's Crew Dragon already uses a significant amount of AI. And I would say it's not just Crew Dragon, that there's a lot of spacecraft already on orbit that are being flown primarily by AI decision making with human oversight. So the genie's out of the bottle in that respect. But we've seen also, particularly at GeoInt, which was just last week, there were a number of keynotes there that touched on the importance of maintaining control over the AI solutions and making sure that the AI that is brought into operational environments is tested and cyber secure in particular, and so on. And one thing that I noticed actually at GeoInt, which was very interesting, was there were a number of companies from the UK and from Europe that were bringing in AI-driven solutions into geospatial. And because of the new regulations in the EU around the deployment and use of AI, their language and the way that they presented their solutions was very much, you could hear the guardrails of ethical use of AI and knowledge of how the system works. It'll be interesting to see how legislation and industry norms develop here in the States.
Yeah, it was interesting. Also, at the same time, I believe the Pope Francis and the CEO of Cisco had a meeting and came to some kind of at least understanding about the ethics of AI.
That was never on my bingo card, I'll admit.
Yeah. But with regard to legislation, well, if AI helps us to get to heaven, I'm all for it, as everybody else is. But with regard to legislation, as we often see in our industry, Hanna, I'll stay with you before I move over to Sapna, we often see regulatory elements and legislation way, way behind where we are with our science and our technology and our visions. Do you see the same thing happening with AI?
I am, anytime anyone gives a prediction on AI, they're bound to be wrong. I'd hate to put one out there.
Well, you didn't have the Pope on your bingo card, so let's
go
for it.
Exactly. I think certainly for the space industry, and particularly with the importance that the Space Force is putting on, national security use of space, and that's something that's also happening around in other parts of the world, Europe and other jurisdictions. I think we're going to, I would guess that we would see more attention, more hearings, more conversation. Will we see legislation, move quickly? I have doubts about, our government being able to move quickly. So we'll see.
Yeah. By its very nature, right? The government is a deliberative body. Sapna, let's just switch to the investment community. Debra Werner alluded to it a little bit in her reporting. Given your role looking for partners and investments at Lockheed and what you know, how should the investment community be looking at the implementation of AI into commercial space operations? Where are the sweet spots now?
I feel like hardware is a big thing and power, because we need a lot of power and competent hardware to run all these complex algorithms. And I really feel companies who are working on that, and there's a lot of them, especially for things on the lunar surface. Like when we get to interplanetary exploration, it becomes a lot more difficult compared to Earth orbit. And it just gets more expensive, and having a reusable power source like solar power, and also nuclear power as well, is super promising. I think those are my two sweet spots. I think those are looking really promising. And for the rover program, I was working on finding customers to kind of get a ride on our rover, and a lot of them, were interested in doing processing and having really big data centers on the surface of the moon. And there's companies doing that. It's happening now. And
Sure.
I think that is really fascinating. And when we have more infrastructure on the surface and in general in the moon and past the moon to Mars, we will need those big data centers to process things, and provide smart insights, and also just increase autonomous activity. Like if we are, building an autonomous community, like having habitats and manufacturing things autonomously with rovers and things like that, we need big processing data centers to them help them get the commands and basically be their mission ops on the surface.
Right.
So I think that is those two areas, power and
Yeah.
hardware and data processing.
We're kind of running out of time for this segment, but Matteo, I want to go back to you. One of the interesting concerns that we hear is that given the costs of space and the emerging capabilities of AI right here on Earth, is there a risk that those problems or opportunity for which we invested or think we needed space may become unnecessary because we're able to do a lot of that stuff here now, which we didn't anticipate we could do? Could we engineer ourselves, around some of our problems without space?
I mean,
You get all the tough questions today, don't you?
yeah, I will say that there's for sure like some areas where AI capabilities can replace some downstream applications. And we just closed our first commercial contract a couple of weeks ago, and it's about performing a centimeter level lunar map, giving like rovers the possibility to localize themselves without having any GPS systems and stuff like that. And this is like enabled by sort of like methods that uses some AI. And so I will say that those capabilities that are possible to develop with some AI solutions might have an impact, a strong impact on space downstream applications. But at the same time, I really think that there's some sensing that you can only get from the outer space that provide information which are not usually retrievable elsewhere.
Yeah.
So,
Hanna, we've got a minute. Do you want to take that one as well? That question?
Sure. So, an example I can give is if we look at the insurance agent industry, for example, they use aerial imagery to fly over areas that have been impacted in some way, whether it's flooding or something like that. And for a long time, a lot of Earth observation companies thought that they could use satellite data and it would make a lot of sense. Well, for various reasons, such as time to deploy and cost and industry working bodies, the aerial imagery actually makes more sense. And so I think it's a good example of there are certain applications of space, certain developments and whether it's product development or technology development that will be very applicable with AI attached to it or working in it. And we'll see new and different applications develop. And there will be some that will fall away as AI becomes more powerful on the Earth and we're able to do more on the Earth. So I don't think it's an either or question. I think it's just going to massively change and shift. And some things may move from space back to Earth, and some things from Earth may move into space through AI enabling more technological advancement would be my prediction.
Yeah, that seems a virtuous use of the ecosystems, for lack of a better word, that are forming and the investments that are being made, right? You would get the shared benefits and the efficiencies wherever they're needed. I think
exactly.
I wanted to get into space debris, but we can't do that. We are going to be taking that one on September 30th at the London Space Business Roundtable. So maybe Matteo, if you're on the continent, we'll have you come over and talk about that one as well. But we're going to wrap this session. I really do want to thank you each for making the time to be with us. We're just scratching the surface here of this conversation. And I hope it was as rewarding for you as it was for the audience. So thank you very much, Matteo, Hanna, and Sapna.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
It was great. And there's a lot that people should know about AI, and I'm happy to contribute.
Well, you are going to be the people to tell them about it and to lead the way. Now, we're going to go to Las Vegas for the New York Minute. I'll figure that one out. I guess there's a connection between the two places. But Joe Fargnoli of the New York Space Alliance has been listening patiently. And so Hanna, Sapna, and Matteo, he's going to have a reaction to what you're saying. Joe, first of all, are you winning any money out there?
I win every day, Lou.
You win. I'll tell you, we won with this conversation today.
Exactly. We certainly did. And I want to thank you for setting this up. These are three tremendous guests that we had today. As I was listening to everybody, I thought about Roosevelt's statement about the man in the arena, and I'll modify it to say the person in the arena. Okay, these are three engineers, business entrepreneurs, I will say, who have grease under their fingernails or moon dust under their fingernails. They're not talking about AI. They're not pontificating about AI. They're doing AI. And I highly respect them, and I appreciate you, Hanna, Sapna, and Matteo, for joining us today. As we look at AI, it is about data, it is about algorithms, it is about processing, it is about safety, it is about security, it is about explainability. All of these factors are being worked every day in all kinds of fields. But as we take those learnings and we apply them to space, there is that person in the arena who's at the pointy tip of the spear trying to apply it to that domain. So I treasure the experiences, the stories that are being shared by our guests today. And I really want to encourage everyone in our audience to get to know their companies and to get to know these individuals better. As Lou said, we're just scratching the surface. The field of AI, I feel like we're at where we were with the internet 25 years ago, where we asked, how will the internet change what we do in space? As we've seen, some things moved quickly in that area. Some things moved a little bit more slowly. If you remember a system called Teledesic back in the late 90s, well, that looks a whole lot of what Starlink looks like. So, one of my sayings is there are very few bad ideas, but there's lots of bad timings, lots of bad timing. So one of my passions here is to see that we roll things out at the right pace with the right level of expectation. I don't think what any of our guests are doing today is huge yet, but I think they're on the path to greatness. And that comes from starting with honest engineering of trying to apply these techniques to the unique challenges of space. So I applaud their presence. I applaud their efforts. I encourage everyone to get to know them, and I encourage the entire community to follow in their path of courageously moving out on trying to apply AI, not just for the sake of AI, not to put an AI inside sticker on your activities, but to really help space become, as great as we think it can become in addressing the needs of humanity. And as Hanna shared, we're going to find that, or I'm not sure it was Hanna or Sapna, we're going to find a new division of what goes on in space and what goes on Earth. Yeah. And the conversation about needing space station data centers in space was kind of a follow-on to the previous discussion we had with one of our other companies of interest that is doing data centers on the moon. So great effort. This is what we do in the New York Space Business Roundtable. We ask hard questions, we look at issues, and we invite great entrepreneurs like the three that we had on today. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe, and good luck at the conference out there. We'll see you in New York next time.
Yes, sir.
All right. Have a good trip. Tamara, what are we doing now? First of all, I do want to thank the audience today, because the chats were fascinating. They're almost distracting in a way. It was just very compelling. So thank you all for that. And we are going to keep this conversation going, right, Tamara?
Indeed, we are. So
there you go. That was a segue. Yeah, well, we're going to keep it going at 1 o'clock, as we mentioned, with SpaceNews and our friend Debra Werner. So we're going to be handing off to her shortly. And of course, at 1:15, you can see in chats now Frank White's overview roundtable. And I would encourage you to check that out as well. That's always a fascinating program. So boy, programming choices today. Next month, someone...
Wait.
Yes. What did I do?
We're staying in today. Just today, we opened up nominations for our big awards. Okay, you can talk, but I didn't want us to run past this.
No. Go ahead. No, I'm looking at the slide now.
Well, listen, very important. Sapna Rao, who you heard from today, is one of our 20 under 35 honorees from 2023. We have now, as of today, opened up nominations for the 2024 cohort. As well, we have opened up nominations for the Mentor of the Year. Folks like Sapna, folks like Matteo, folks like Hanna get to be as amazing as they are because they typically have mentors somewhere. We want you to nominate folks who have been your mentors along the way, folks who have gone above and beyond the needs of their day-to-day jobs to be of service and help to folks coming up. So that's what I wanted to share.
Yeah. Was there a slide before this, Tamara, about next month's roundtable, or did I miss the rehearsal?
You missed the rehearsal. We're going in chronological order.
Okay. So we've got Space Week coming up here in New York, May 20th, celebrating space. Thanks to our friends and supporting organization, Empire State. You can learn more about that by visiting this website as well. Tamara, I was thinking the 20 under 35, we need, I think we need some swag, t-shirts. Be like Sapna. Be like Sapna.
That'd be so all kinds of awesome.
Oh no, I don't think
with a bowl of ice cream.
I don't know about that.
We're getting a lot of thumbs up.
I would get made fun of so much, but it'd be pretty funny, honestly.
The only reason I wouldn't do it, Sapna, is because 97% of the people wearing the t-shirt won't be able to pronounce your name. So I wouldn't do that
true. To you. Maybe that's more of a reason.
Be like Lou then. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think we're gonna do that. Tamara, you want to keep going? We've got a WISE event coming up.
Keep it moving up. Yes. Next week, Thursday, during New York Space Week, is also the SSPI WISE monthly all members meeting. This particular meeting is not topical. This is a meeting to find out what the working groups have been up to, and more importantly, how you can get engaged. We typically have this meeting just before we get ready for our elections, which are coming right up. So I welcome all who identify as women in industry to please be present, and all the allies of folks who identify as women, please tell your female colleagues to come to this one. Thank you.
When are the elections?
Elections will be in June.
Okay. Also in June.
Yes, there we
go. People were suggesting in the chats to keep this conversation going, and we actually will. We're going to shift it over a little bit more to the relationship between government, which Hanna and I talked about a little bit when we were talking about legislation and stuff, but more AI, warfare, governance, the whole aspect of the public sector, working with the commercial sector to see where, again, this all goes so that we can improve human life. So the title is The Last Human Election, how AI will influence space policy and culture. And we've got some really interesting guests as well lined up for that one. So that's the third Wednesday in June. You can register for it now. And we encourage you to join us again.
Just a quick note on that subject for the rest of this quarter. So for each quarter, we've got a single link. So the fact that you're here today means you're actually already registered for June 19th. All we need you to do is show up.
Yeah, that's the important part. And if you do, we'll give you a Sapna t-shirt. Watch this space. As I mentioned, we're going to take the roundtable to a couple of live events. Cornell will be up there in September 18th, and we'll be in London on the 30th talking about space debris, thanks to our friends and hosts, the Hogan Lovells Law Firm. And if you were at the first London roundtable, you know that's just a great event, and the industry there is moving very quickly into the commercial sector. So
I hear it's the second best roundtable in the world.
It is number 2. Yep.
Indeed.
And don't miss my podcast Monday. I'll be talking to Jonathan Bailiff, the CFO of Redwire Corporation, which just made history in another way. They were the first space company to win the Luxembourg Chamber of Commerce in America Business Award. And that was a big celebration here in New York at the Metropolitan Club. So our industry was really on the map that night, winning this award. So that was a very cool event. So we'll be talking to him about that. They had the funkiest trophy I've ever seen, Shamra, for that award. And
I'm hoping you have pictures.
Yeah, he breaks it. Yeah, we do. And he breaks it down as to why they designed it that way and how it relates to what we do. It was very cool.
Very cool.
Monday, and you can hear that podcast. And I think that's it. Did I miss anything or anybody?
No. We brought this in on time. I'm very impressed.
Very good. Well, you have time to
yeah.
get something to eat before Debra.
Yeah, I get to go grab a cup of tea, or no, I'm going to get some more coffee. I'm going to go get some more coffee, and then, folks, I put it in the link in the chats. We have 2, not 1, but 2 opportunities to continue this conversation today. So you can check Frank White's overview roundtable, or you can go to the SpaceNews webinar. Gosh. We have what do you call it? Embarrassment of riches. We have an embarrassment of riches.
AI is,
yeah.
Sapna AI is the flavor of the month.
Okay. Also, you guys.
Jerry's flavor of the month.
We should do it. Okay. Now I have to go to Ben and Jerry's. Stop that, Sapna.
All right.
Listen, everybody, you heard our music at the beginning. This is our official theme song. Just send me an email if you want us to have an official music video for our theme song. Okay, with that, have a wonderful rest of today.
We're out of here, and thank you to our sponsors.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.